Welcome to the HU Movemakers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. Welcome to another edition of the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the legacy of Howard University at the highest levels. Today, we got a real treat. We got a global citizen in the building from New Haven, Delta Sigma Theta. Okay, I hear you. Harvard Business School, the White House, Michelle Obama and them, Discovery Education. But let me tell you, this woman, she's a master communicator. We're going to dig into that.
Let's go.
A social impact advocate. Ooh, we're going to dig. A corporate responsibility strategist. She's none other than head of global public relations for Global Citizen, Charmion Nicole Kinder.
Thank you, Josh. How are you?
Oh man, I'm great. You know, I'm blessed out here. So,
Man, highly favored. Amen.
yeah, man, I'm blessed. So I can't complain. You know, I'm just happy to have you on.
I'm happy to be here.
You know, you're a superstar.
Just
You know.
trying to be like you when I grow up.
You crazy. So I mean, tell me, how does one go from New Haven,
Yeah.
Connecticut? How big is New Haven?
New Haven is all you need to know. I think it's about 180,000 of us.
Man,
It's
that's
black people in
crazy.
New Haven. That's all everybody needs to know. Lots of us. We didn't know y'all didn't know we were there.
How you go from New Haven to Howard to Alpha Chapter Delta Sigma Theta
All that.
to the White House
Yeah.
to Global Citizen? I mean, talk to me, man. Where do we start?
Well, listen. I love New Haven. I grew up in an urban high school. My mom's a public school teacher. I was class president and really had the honor of getting to know a lot of dope people in my high school career. You had really smart kids. Some of them came from less
But
fortunate.
you was class president though, huh?
I was like most like.
You remember your platform? What was your platform when you was running?
I think I was trying to get to stop fighting and to graduate, retire. We were all trying to get out. Yeah,
Okay.
I had about 600 to start. I got out with 140 of us, but we got out, and many of us went on and did really well.
What you mean? 600 what?
600 freshman students, and then just like any other hood around America, sometimes people drop out. Sometimes they unfortunately die before you get out of high school. Sometimes
Damn.
there are financial issues.
So tell me about the demographic of your high school at that time, because 600 starting and you end with 140. That's
Well, we also had
tough.
high school. We had a high school principal like Mr. Clark, but his name was Lonnie Garris. He was not playing games with any of us. I think it saved a lot of people's lives.
okay.
And he got in, and he said, "Listen, if you're not going to be in my school
Mhm.
consistently for 30 days, you're getting kicked out.
I remember that.
If you don't go to class, you're getting kicked out." So he
Man.
just took a shot and really changed the culture of the school, and it made a difference for us to be able to focus on academics. We were called the ACs. We used to be the Bulldogs. He changed our mascot to the ACs to focus on academics. That's how serious it was.
So when you graduate high school, where are your classmates going to school? What are some of the colleges?
So I had a few classmates go to Yale. A lot of people went to Southern Connecticut State University.
Okay.
We were always really promoting, like they promoted programs within the state of Connecticut to make sure that people can go to preparatory programs. I happen to have parents who were, my mom's an educator and my dad owned a small business. And also
Yeah.
South
Dope,
Carolina.
man. Dope.
So I had a deep privilege to always know I was going to college, which wasn't the fortune of a lot of my classmates, right? Some people don't necessarily push you to do that.
So you go to Howard though.
College, but some people didn't. So I chose Howard. Yeah, I'm an
So-
AME baby.
Wow.
Went to AME Church, Bethel, New Haven. Everybody there it was either Greek. I had gone to HBCU. It was
Man, shout out to the Saints at AME, man.
Yes, indeed.
Shout out to them
All around the world.
Saints.
All
So-
19 districts.
Man, that's crazy. So why
So-
Howard? Why Howard? How did you end up there?
Yeah, so we used to go to classic bus tours when I was young. Hampton and A&T or whomever in New York. It was called the Classic. So I always knew I wanted to go to HBCU. I used to dance like 5 times a week. I loved the band. I loved the culture. I loved the black people. I was like, my brother went to Dell State. Always knew I was going to HBCU. Howard was heralded as the best. And I applied and just knew and then I went to homecoming my senior year of high school with my homegirl, Kia Black. Shout out to Kia Black. She let me stay with her. I went to like 4 puffy parties, and then I just fell in love with DC. So I knew it was Howard. I got in a pre-orientation program. Shouts to Prio, and went back to Hill House and was like, I'm going to Howard University. So once I visited as a senior, it was over.
Damn. So you step on campus. Do you have a plan of how you're gonna take over? Like, what are you thinking when you step on campus? Are you a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond? What's your mindset?
Listen, I think we were all small fish in a big pond. The first time I had ever seen 6,000 undergraduate students who looked like me, who all had ambitions and goals, and we were all accomplished in our high school careers, and so it was great. I felt energized by it. BET used to be headquartered in DC.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I was a communications major, so I liked the fact that there was a Black network that I had watched all the time right down the street. We had in the communication school. There was a radio program. There was a TV program. It was very diversified. Other HBCUs only have mass communications.
So even as a freshman, you was aware of all of this.
Yes, that's exactly why I chose the school.
Damn.
And
you was not playing.
Major. I thought I was gonna be. I started as a film major, and we had alumni come back and just give us the real. They were like, "Listen, unless you wanna live and die poor, because there are no Black women filmmakers. This is way before Ava DuVernay. They were like, you better mean this with your entire life if this is what you want to do." And I was like, yeah, I like suits. I want a Benz. I like clothes. I'm gonna switch my major. So I ended up getting into PR.
Damn. Do you have those things now?
I do.
I hear you. So freshman year, what is it like when you first step when you first arrived to the Mecca? Tell me about the landscape. What are you seeing? Who are you meeting? How are you adjusting?
I feel like, pre-orientation, I feel like was my first foray because our small group kind of got to register for classes and go around the campus. So by the time you get back, you sort of feel like you were already there for a little while. So my first memory is really pre-orientation. I met my roommate, Tynesa Davis, who is now my line sister. There, we decided we were going to be roommates. So when we came back, we were all set. It was just a matter of getting to the rooms and getting to our classes and going where we had to go. But I just always remember feeling like I was at one of the best places, one of the best schools on earth with just really interesting people. A lot of people try to tell you Howard's a monolith. It's not. We have people from all 50 states, 110 different countries.
That's crazy, man. Because people say that, I love when I hear people say, man, the world is not Black or Black schools don't have no diversity. I love and I hate it. I hate it because people actually be going their whole life really thinking that.
I agree.
But I love it because I get to tell them, break it down, yo, have a seat.
Have a whole seat.
Right. Let me break this down to you. All right.
Get you clear.
Howard is the most diverse setting I've ever been in.
Ever.
Right?
Yeah.
So stop playing with me right now.
Yeah. I mean, and even from a discipline perspective, and then the alumni always come back and pour their hearts into us. And so it's just a dynamic, nurturing, it's a sacred place. And I think that's why we call it the Mecca and why we love it so much so many years later.
So you at the Mecca, man. So what you were filmed, so that's School of C, right?
That's School of C all day.
So you School of C, man. School of C they got so much, y'all got chips on y'all shoulders.
What do you
mean? For real. Y'all rep so hard.
Oh, we have
so hard.
I mean, we're communicators from the best school on the planet.
I think it's from being at the bottom of the hill. Y'all rep so hard, and y'all always looking up to people in the School of B, like myself.
Listen, there's no beef, but that is our responsibility, and so we do what we need to.
That's dope. So oh yeah, man, Miss Dudley. Everybody who I've had on here who's been in the School of C, they have nothing but positive things to say about Miss Dudley. So. Yeah. She's obviously put on for a lot of people. And I remember there was this big thing. I think her position was being removed or something. And
there were some conversations with the administration, yes. And then the students expressed their love and admiration for all the hard work that she's done.
That's
and
crazy.
It turned out that she's still at the school. And so we're really excited about that. We look forward to supporting her tenure there as long as she'd like to stay.
Yeah, word is bond. They made that happen. I'm not even in the School of C. I'm not even from the School of C, but I felt compelled to like and share and repost. I was like, damn, But so when you at Howard, I mean, tell me about some of the things you were involved in while you were on campus.
Yeah, so I was a campus pal, and we still have an alumni network. Student
Campus
ambassador.
pal, they're extinct.
They are not, we're just different ebbs and flows.
Okay,
But we're
so campus
still there.
pals.
Somebody is there in spirit, and so I was also NAACP. I was
Really?
student council, student council, UGSA representative, PR director there.
So when you're joining these organizations, are you like consciously joining them because you passionate about them, or are you like, man, I gotta beef up the resume, or is it like a little bit of both?
I think I already had training because I've always been like very involved, and I wanted to make sure I was successful at Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the leadership doesn't really go away no matter where you switch. And so when I saw leaders, I was attracted to them, and I wanted to be in an environment where we were making the best out of our college experience. And so I did that. Not only with the Campus Power organization, but then also with Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the Alpha chapter,
Wow.
well as, Stephanie Brown, shouts to Stephanie in the Collective Pack, Quentin James. Stephanie was HUSA president, was very involved with that. And so we all kind of just came up together, really being.
So you was in student government too?
Yeah. And I think it was important training.
You had one of them paid joints?
I had a paid joint.
Oh man. Man, why was I so asleep on all of that? Charmion, why didn't you tell me?
Cameron knew.
Man, y'all so petty. All of y'all, every time I had y'all, I talked to Stephanie, Cam. I'm like, y'all so petty. Y'all was getting paid to leave.
Well, listen, that was part because we
participated. I'm not mad though.
In government, and we had to vote on the budget. We had to use Robert's Rules of Order. We knew exactly what funds were available from our student resources. Man. And so this is really just training again for leadership for America and the global community. And
so what was that like though, being in student government? How we gonna touch on some other organizations you was in, but what was the process? First, what was your position in student government?
So I was a UGSA PR director.
UGSA. So you're actually doing kind of what you do now on a little smaller level, but you're applying what you learned in school to UGSA. So tell me, how did you become UGSA PR director?
I was on, like I mentioned, you have to be on the student council to even run. And then once you win student council, a lot of times you will actually try to get appointed to a position within UGSA. So I didn't want to work off campus. I really already had a lot going on and ended up becoming one of two UGSA reps, shouts to Larry Brown, who was the other. Man. And then we both also ran for positions in the council leadership positions at the macro level. So
you had to run for that.
You had to run to be a representative, and then within that, all the representatives, they vote for different, positions. Yeah.
So what was that like? Did you have to raise money, do speeches? I mean, what's going on at this level?
It's getting foggy now because I'm getting up in my years, but you absolutely have to get voted upon. People have to think that you're capable of doing the job. And then generally, I believe either the UGSA president will decide who he wants in his cabinet. I believe that's how it went. So Larry Brown assembled his cabinet, and I ended up being over PR.
Nice, man. So you learn about politics and all of that and building relationships at a young age.
Very much so.
That's dope, because I was asleep on I was campus pals. When I was a campus pal, I thought I had made it in life. It was nothing else that I was looking to do. And then when people was graduating and getting jobs and having great answers in interviews about leadership experience, campus pals is just not something that really resonated outside of Howard's campus to people. But when you talk about student government and being a sorority, people understand that. Okay, so you PR director for UGSA, super dope. So tell me about being a Delta. Like,
yes,
that's. So I mean, you got Deltas, then you got Deltas.
Right.
Like that's Alpha chapter. You kind of set the tone for, I mean, every other chapter, period. And when you consider the history of Delta and Howard, I mean, did you realize at the time when you were, I guess, thinking about becoming a Delta, how significant that was?
I think absolutely. There are 5 Alpha chapters on Howard University's campus. I think what does, I don't want to say set us apart because obviously Deltas are all over the world, but we are required to know our history. And you very much have to understand how you connect to that history if you want to carry the legacy with that history. And you have to sign up to do it for the rest of your life.
Man, and heavy is the head that wears the crown. Man.
Which is why I'm still in service.
Wow.
To make sure that you mean it. And so When I was thinking about becoming a Delta, I not only looked at all the women who were in the organization, but I understood the women who had already founded the organization. We carried it on. We had a lot to do with the women's suffrage movement in the 20s, right from Howard University. You had a number of different diplomats, and even Dr. Dorothy Irene Height, who was very emblematic in the civil rights movement in the 60s. She was one of the only women who were at the forefront with all of the men helping to shape policy. And so she was the 10th national president of Delta. And so
you was online like that with it, huh?
We do.
Ask me a question. Ask me anything. Sean was like, ask me anything.
Whatever, Doc. You know, we can go to the next topic.
Man, Sean was petty on when she was online, getting everybody in trouble. Like, yeah, I know it. Go to the next one.
I was not. We got that together. But
that's what's up, man. That's what's up.
And it does help. It helps to understand your place in the world, understand that you're not the first to do it and that you won't be the last. So.
But how did you know, like, you know, and this is me being ignorant, like, when I was at Howard, I didn't understand, like, the Alpha Chapter concept until I graduated, and everybody, when I graduated, you ain't pledged? That's Alpha Chapter. Like, everybody was like, I'm like, oh, damn, I felt, like, slow. Like, you know what I'm saying? I didn't understand, like, was that something you learned in high school, or you knew that at Howard just from doing research and just navigating?
Yeah, so I think this is where like community and Black community is really important, because I learned a lot about this at AME Church. Really, a lot of people in my church were in a fraternity or sorority. It's something I grew up with, and so I kind of knew it was a part of the experience. And I also knew that I wanted to forever be connected to the fabric of like being responsible for our community, being responsible for showing up when we need to show up and speak up, and being connected to other people who have pledged to do the same thing.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
Came to Howard knowing that, knowing a little bit about that network.
That's dope, because, you know, we had no Greeks in my family, and my mom was like, do not pledge anything. You need to graduate.
You need to graduate.
So I was just like, all right, cool. I was like, you know, because everything you heard was bad things anyway. So I was like, all right, okay, cool. That was all I needed to hear. Mm-hmm. But okay, so you go through the process of becoming a Delta. Obviously, that's one of the most premier organizations, not just on Howard's campus, but in the world, especially for Black women. Mm-hmm. So you going through that process, you get to connect with a bunch of women. What was it like when you crossed? Because when them Deltas come out, I mean, camp is like, it's like you just see red. It's like, you know, it's like you wake up at your dorm and you like, man, like you look out the window, you like, man, I see red there, white. You just see all these women coming. Like, what was that like?
Yes.
You know what? What was the? I'm gonna ask you this. What was it like the day before when you knew you was about to come out on the yard? What was that like?
So we actually didn't know, because we just didn't. But I think what is a through line with at least the Alpha Chapter is that it's a lifetime commitment. So a lot of women who are 50, 40, 30, 20 years older than you come back to support you, because they feel like
bosses too. It be bosses coming back though.
It does.
It be bosses coming back.
But to your point, Josh, like, you know, I don't want to be partisan here. I know a lot of people who are going to watch this who are not Delta, but the point is, it was an actual sisterhood. And
I think people need to know. You don't understand. Like, people got to know. Like, when I was trying to explain, like, because see, the thing is, you see like school days as a kid, but you don't really understand. Mm-hmm. And then when your white friends, or not, I don't say your white friend, but your friends that go to PWIs, like when they go to probate, because my sister was an AK, so she crossed, and it was 11 of them, mm-hmm. which is dope. And then they got their little Black student union, mm-hmm. so you got like, you know, 100 people watching their probate show, mm-hmm. you know. But when you had that energy of like the way that, even when there's 4 people on the line at Howard, everybody just, that energy is just like, it's, to me, I'm guessing it's probably a day you'll never forget.
It is. You know? It's a lifestyle I don't forget, quite frankly, because my family's not that large, you know. At any given time, whether it's 1969, 1972, 1988, I can identify, and we had to learn these ladies' names. And so you know what you're going into. And I don't say we had to. We were encouraged to learn their names and know what they're
global PR. I see you.
I understand what they're doing. And so it's beautiful. I can pick up the phone and call them. I have connections to these ladies for the rest of my life. Same thing with the young ladies who have come after me. And I think that just with that concept in the Black community, especially among Black women, is so important. You don't have to be in competition with each other. You know, when I see a Black woman, I look at her like I'm trying to figure out what's dope about her and how I can support her.
Let's talk about that a little bit. You don't have to be in competition, but Howard is highly competitive, though. That's like, you say that, Charm, but Charm, I ain't never seen you. I ain't never seen you not looking on point in my life.
Thank you.
Ever.
I appreciate that.
So stop. You don't tell me you ain't like you come with it, Charm. So don't even try that.
That just comes. That's a personal. My minor was fashion merchandising. How about that?
Okay. So that makes sense.
It's a hobby that I like.
That makes sense.
I just like to be put together. And additionally, this is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So I started I never went external with this because we didn't used to have social media. But I decided very long ago that I was going to be like a campaign for Black girls. And I always want young Black women to have positive images of themselves. And so, like, I remember there was a woman, I don't even know her name, when I was in high school, who used to come into the Gap that I worked in all the time. Every time I saw this woman, I was like, what does she do? I mean, now I think she was like head of the hospital or nurse, but she looked immaculate every time I saw her. And we never even spoke, but that woman encouraged me to like how to carry myself, how I should present myself, how I should like look. And it was just so inspiring. Like, I think it's important for Black women, especially younger Black women, to see how you're supposed to carry yourself. And so that a part of that is with my personal style. I just think it's important. And specifically when we have colorism and a number of different things that go on, I use my packaging that God gave me to ensure that I'm always turning my light up. So that's what that's really about.
That's dope, man. So, I mean, what was it like when you came out? I mean, was family there, friends around? Because at Howard, it's a big deal at Howard. Because one of the things you be looking at, you be like, yo, who is that? Oh, is that Charmion? Go Charmion. You know, what was that like when you came out?
Well, I had been interested in the organization for quite some time. So I think most of my friends were very happy for me. And it was nice. It was sort of a relief to finally have the privilege of joining the organization.
And what year is this when you crossed?
This was 2003.
Oh, so you were a senior.
Yes, I was a senior when I crossed.
Oh man. So and you graduated in 2003, right?
I sure did. Yes.
Wow. So you didn't really get to have that year of like just
being out
of milking it.
You know, work.
Yeah.
I got straight to work. But I'm really tight with my life. A lot of my life sisters were younger than me, so we obviously had to go back for step show, and we've stayed connected. There are 48 of us in total, and so obviously we all are still connected with my profile. So once you're in, you kind of never leave.
That's dope, man. Yeah, it's a lifetime commitment. So let's fast. So 2003, you graduating. You a Delta. You cut from that cloth, AME church, bosses, PR director of UGSA. You getting a check. You're doing all of these amazing things. What happens after graduation? Are you still a boss when you graduate?
Oh, absolutely not. And, it was like, this is the bubble that all Howard students get out, and they are like, the sky is falling. What's going on with the world? Why am I not in the fast track to be CEO? Why are these people acting like I'm not supposed to be in charge? Very hard transition.
Speak on that.
Yeah, so it's, when I first got out, I couldn't really find a job. I ended up getting employed by alumni at SEIU for like an internship program, which was paying me like $6 an hour, if that. I was determined not to go home. My mother said, I will pay for 3 more months of your rent until you figure out how to do this for yourself. So I worked 3 jobs. I worked at SEIU. I worked at Oya, which was a restaurant around the corner. Sometimes
really?
I would tutor and do different things. I got my clothes half off at Zara. I used to work at Zara. Like, I just hustled because my thought process was, if I get the experiences that I need in the daytime in professional, in this internship program, and just use the evening money to put my rent together, eventually this will break through with a job for me.
So did you ever have any, excuse me, was there ever any feelings of like regret? I should have majored in something else, or, did you feel like you wasn't winning? Like, were you comparing yourself to friends? Like, what type of things were going through your head at that time? Because you went from a high to, like, I guess the quote unquote real world overnight. You don't have no job or nothing like that. What's that like?
Difficult. I think, I happen to be a person of faith, and that was really important for that period, to understand, like, first of all, you don't compare yourself to other people. Everybody has their own design. Everybody has their own mission and purpose. Like, I just had to keep telling myself all those things I learned before I got to Howard and during that time, you know, that I have talent, that if I am a good person to people, if I help people, like the karma comes back to you, that you live blessed if you treat people the way you want to be treated. These are the types of things that I had to like remind myself every day. And it sure was difficult. I have a lot of friends who will tell you, I always talk about the middle passage. You know, we don't have it harder than our ancestors who had to come over here on boats. Many of them did not make it. We are the descendants of people who were very resilient. And so I had to lean on that sometimes, like my history, like, well, at least I don't have to like pick cotton all day and walk to Canada and then come back. Like, I mean, our people have been through a lot of stuff. And for me to take that and live on that legacy, stand on their shoulders and say I have a degree and then just stop running the race is completely ludicrous. So I think the history of Howard, kind of knowing who I am, understanding what it took for us to even get here, really kept me going. And that's
what I think, you know, I think, you know, everything you're saying is true. And I also think that one of the things that as Black people, we don't always know, we're not aware of our history,
right.
like other cultures, you know what I'm saying? Unless, you know, because everybody else got passed down traditions. Our history kind of starts at like slavery, you know what I'm saying? And then even then, we really can't even trace ourselves back to, you know, what tribe or whatever we came through. But that's what I like about the sorority and the fraternity life. You can pull from all of these examples of people who had it way worse than you,
yep.
and they made a way. So that's dope what you're saying. I mean, how you got into that mindset, you know, he went into beast mode basically. So how long was you in that learning, in that slump?
Man, like 5 years. Okay.
Damn, Sean, 5 years?
Wow.
That's humbling for you, cause Sean, let's be honest, man. I mean, you always looking good. You always got the the nice clothes. I mean, you always, you know, you don't come out the house unless you looking right. You know, so but you know, and then you have a lot of pride too. It's not like you just, you know, you don't have step. Like, what's that like to be in that for 5 what's going through your head at this point?
Yeah. Man,
Who are you surrounding yourself with?
Yeah,
Who's in your circle of influence?
That's what I was gonna say next. I qualified my friend circles, man, and like a lot of people, not that people were or weren't friends, but some of the people who came along the journey with me. You know, there was one time when I went on a campaign and came back and didn't have housing. So in order to like work on an inaugural committee, we weren't being paid anything. And I stayed with line sisters on their couches like 2 weeks at a time. Like I was wearing Reeboks at one point. One time I didn't really even have a perm. Like it was embarrassing. Like I had to figure it out. It was struggle. It was struggle street. But I think, you know, the people who saw my light and like knew me from college and like that Howard network became a very real thing. Very, very real. My line sisters were very helpful with regard to like pots and pans and stuff and just housing and different things. And so I don't want to say it's a blur. We don't have enough time, but I ended up just having a really strong circle of people who put love around me, you know, pooled their resources to make sure that I could keep going. I obviously did what I had to do and work multiple jobs. And then, you know, just my faith, like God basically held me down and provide open doors and made sure I had food. And when I didn't have resources, he provided resources through people, which is why it's important to be a blessing to people. So, you know, I just had that resilience, like that. I'm not failing. Like I refuse, and I kept going until I ended up at an internship 5 years later at something called Edelman Public Relations, which is an international PR firm. And from there, I just learned strategic communications counsel, and my career has really tracked very well ever since.
Awesome. So, Edelman, you get that internship, 5 years. You still in the industry. A lot of people would have taken another route. Like, I'm gonna get a job trying to work for the city. You know, something that can pay me some bread, even if it's not what I want to do. I'm gonna try to do something that can at least give me a livable, you know, some livable bread, so I could at least, you know, live the life I want. But you stuck with it. So tell me what happened with Edelman. What position did you get with them?
Yeah, so I worked as an intern for like 3 months and got promoted as an account executive in their healthcare practice in the DC office. I went and bought a card holder. I was so happy to get this job, and I had gone through so much to get it.
Because it kind of validates you in a way. You know, you like, I'm about to show them.
It's one of the top PR firms in the world. So it's
Oh,
a
wow.
worldwide network, and you have people who have been in, like we had somebody from Michael Deaver, God rest his soul in peace, used to work in a past administration. So I had access to leaders who had run, all levels of government, all levels of international affairs. It was like you're sitting in meetings like just soaking up how to run the world, basically. And it was incredible. It was a great opportunity. I had wonderful mentors there. 3 Black women who really made sure I knew what I was doing. And from there, really sky ended up starting to be, the limit, even though I'm still limited by the sky, but I'm trying to get.
How did you get that role though with Edelman?
Yeah, there was a Black woman named Michelle Deese who was at a Black Public Relations Society meeting, because that's why you gotta stay connected to community. I was actually gonna move to Connecticut the next day. I was on the last leg. Like I was like, I can't do this no more. I was like subletting an apartment, nothing was breaking through. And she was like, would you like an answer? She called me the next day, which never happens. I hadn't even submitted a resume. I had shown up so strongly at that meeting that she actually remembered me and called me and asked me if I wanted to interview for an internship.
Wow, really?
And that's how I got that job. Yes.
Damn. So how long were you at Edelman?
I was there for 4 years. I worked 2 years in DC, and then I moved to New York, still trying to do fashion.
So when you get the job at Edelman, that's a big pay increase from where you were before?
It was health insurance.
Okay.
And it also helped me to consolidate jobs. So I was able to
Hey, it's a start, it's a start.
Yeah.
And then you're getting some real stuff under that resume. So
Right.
you said you there for 4 years?
4 years, yes. And then I went to go work at the Ad Council.
Right, the Ad Council. What was your title at the Ad Council or your responsibility?
I was a campaign manager. So when Play 60 was launching with the NFL, we did a lot of the focus grouping and launching for that campaign. Did a lot of nutrition education work with like Disney, and then My Plate. So really trying to get people to focus on their health habits.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took that because I was working on campaigns with corporations where sometimes I agree with the issue, sometimes I didn't. And in PR, you have to be able to do both. I started having conflicts sometimes with the assignments I was asked to do. I didn't like them. And so I took a pay cut, a $10,000 pay cut, to go work for a company that represented issues that I did like and that I did stand behind and that I did wholeheartedly believe in. And that was a pivotal move for me. That's how I got into social impact, because I made a decision on if I'm going to spend 15 hours a day writing and talking and speaking about something, I better believe what it is or it's going to change the composition of who I am. No shade for people who get paid to do that. I think it's wonderful. But for me, I took a path of the words coming out of my mouth, I actually truly believe. And that's how I ended up getting into social impact.
Oh, wow. So what's an example of something that maybe you had an assignment maybe you were given, but it was like a conflict with your moral compass, and you was like, no, that's not me. I'm not about to push that out there.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes we were asked to work on bills and laws. Sometimes companies align themselves with different laws that will help them to be more profitable, which makes sense. If I didn't agree with the legislation or the policy, and I knew that ultimately it was going to harm people, I didn't like working on those projects. So sometimes I would have those types of projects where I didn't align with the policy I was being asked to write about.
So is that part of you? Is that traced back to, I guess, kind of how you grew up, maybe from that AME church and maybe some things that you learned maybe at Howard? Like, because, a lot of people, they're going to put profits over people, or they're going to, they're going to choose their career growth versus, they're going to be about themselves. I mean,
Yes.
that's a big thing to take a pay cut, especially after starving for so long.
That's correct. I don't recommend multiple pay cuts. I took a number of them. I don't recommend it. I recommend one, but not as many as I took. But I think, yes, Josh, it came from home. It came from where I'm from. It came from Howard. It came from being a Delta. It came from having a certain level of confidence that I matter in the world. And if I study a discipline for 4 years and I say I want to make change in the world, if I say I want to be a leader for America and the global community, that it's up to me to go out there and do that. So I meant that. And I had to figure out ways to be able to do that and to be in spaces where people would even, I don't want to say allow me to do it, but would open up an opportunity for me to implement all the things I had learned. And that was very important to me. So I made a decision that was important to me and I acted upon it.
So do you think that Howard, the education you got at Howard, did that prepare you for the roles that you have now?
I would say absolutely, but it's not just purely from a discipline or a book study perspective, even though I was prepared in that way. I think it's more so about the relationships, about showing up places and standing up and saying your first and last name and where you're from, about knowing the names of people before you go in a meeting, knowing who you're going to talk to. Like I said with Delta, I didn't go into any room at Edelman not knowing who the executives were or what projects they were working on. You know, that type of stuff helped me to stand out in my career. And all of that stuff came from my training at Howard. So, and it still helps, you know, to this day. When you are prepared for what you're headed to, you know, you don't take things for granted. You go in there with an expectation and you prepare yourself to excel. And I think that's what we learn at Howard every day. And that's why we're all so successful.
Dope, man. So after Edelman, did you wind up at Walt Disney? Is that the next
move? So I ended up quitting the ad council and going to organize for Barack Obama.
Oh, wow. Wait, so tell me how this goes. So you at Edelman. Wait, no, you go ad council, then Edelman.
Yes.
Then Obama,
then Edelman, then ad council. So I had Edelman, then I took a pay cut to do social impact work at ad council.
Okay.
And then I quit to go work for the first Black president of the United States.
And then after that is Disney.
That's correct.
Okay. Let's talk about that, because I think that you know, that's significant. You know, that's something that regardless of where you end up, you know, you were an integral role in helping us get, you know, Obama elected. You know, I'm sure that was probably a pay cut, but it was an increase.
Sure was.
You know, but probably an increase in responsibilities, and
it was.
Looks amazing on the resume and all of those good things. But I'm sure at the time, you know, that was probably a labor of love. How did you first hear about that opportunity, and what made you get behind Obama? Because I mean, there's never been a Black president before, so you basically putting all your chips on the table and supporting somebody who, you know, really has no shot at winning.
Yeah. This is an important question, Josh, because, you know, I was at the ad council. I got there. I went there on purpose to work on social impact issues. But everything we were talking about, equity and pay, financial education, good things to eat so that you can be healthy, all types of things, childhood obesity and the lack thereof. These are all systemic issues that sometimes come from how we govern ourselves. And I actually really believe the words, and I found them to be true, that the president was saying. And so for me, if it's the first Black president and people are telling him, well, you're Black, you have no business running for president. And I'm sitting there, I'm from Howard, I'm Alpha Chapter Delta Sigma Theta. I went to an AME church. My parents are Black and from South Carolina and grew up half the years picking cotton because their parents own farms. The question for me is like, if not me, then who? Because if half the world is telling this Black man and his family that they are not good enough to run for president, that's a problem if I know that that's wholly false. And so I saw it as a responsibility, quite frankly, because I, again, very much connected with the words that he was saying, to get on that campaign. Because if I didn't believe in him, then I basically didn't believe in myself.
Did you really think he had a chance at winning?
I believed it because I knew Howard University. I had just gone to school with 6,000 kids who were now getting ready to be doctors and lawyers and running their own businesses like you. And I didn't see a reason why he would fail. And I believed that thing with my whole heart. And many of us on that campaign did. And so I think it was a very spiritual time in the country, whether you actually believe in, you know, a higher power or not, because there were just so many different people who were attracted to his candidacy for different reasons, whether it's his mother and her health condition, or whether the fact that he was Black, or if he was international because he had lived in Hawaii and had traveled all these places. There were so many different types of people from backgrounds who really believed that he had their best interests at heart.
So and what year is this? What year is this?
This is 2008.
Yeah, 2008. So tell me, you know, so you take on that role. What are your responsibilities? You know, what are some of the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
So when I moved, I was a field organizer, and I got called the Obama lady in Kansas City, Missouri. Shouts to Kansas City. Dave's Barbecue. I was on Truston Prospect, which is where all the Black people are, and I was responsible for registering people to vote. And a lot of our people were like, I can't register. I'm not voting. I don't matter. And they say off paper out there. So like on paper means you were on probation and therefore you don't have the rights to vote. So I would always walk up to people who were like, nah, I'm on paper, I can't vote. Or I'm not off paper, I can't vote. So I spent a lot of times in parks, at the BP gas station, inside the McDonald's, inside barbecue shacks. Like I was on the block essentially trying to register people to vote.
So are you over a team of people, or is it just you? How's that?
At first, we started with a team of 2, and then we had to organize volunteers, and ended up being a team of 10 organizers who were in charge of the entire city. We ran a field office in the middle of Kansas City, and then we attracted the city to come volunteer. So we brought a lot of people together to help us build an operation, and I eventually broke off and opened up my own field office where I had about 500 people coming through on a day-to-day basis from that part of the neighborhood to help us organize and win the campaign.
Wow, what a time to be alive, man. Are you interacting with the Obamas or any higher ups at that point?
Not at this point. Nope. I'm a field organizer in Missouri, which was a state. We lost by 3,000 votes, but we held the defensive line for the rest of the strategy. And the president though was very accessible. If we were messing up, we would get a phone call with everybody on the line. It was great technology, as you all remember. And he would be like, if I hear, for example, anybody, disparagingly talking about Hillary Clinton, you will be kicked off my campaign.
Really?
Stuff like that. Like he was very.
That's crazy. And she the one kicked off the birther thing, right?
Yeah, but he did not believe in that. And we were all very clear on the type of character that we had to have on that campaign. And I think that's why it was very successful. We were all very focused on the correct things.
Damn, man, that's nuts. So you organize. I mean, what type of bread is a field organizer making?
It's a stipend. So I think it was about $12,000 for the entire time I was there. So maybe like for 4 months. It was no money. I spent most of my money buying my volunteers pizza and water. A woman named Linda hosted me. I lived in supporter housing. Her kids thought she was crazy.
You did? How long did you do that?
For the entire time I was there. So from like July to November.
What? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I stayed with Linda. And Linda she washed my clothes and was one of the most amazing people on the planet while I was there.
Do you ever sit back and think about those times?
I do. I try not to, because I don't love the current status of the country. So I don't, but I do think about how special those times were.
It's like everybody had so much hope that everything was just going to be so much better, especially, Obama just had that ability to kind of just, ignite people and get them together and get people excited. So you the field organizer.
Yep.
You start your own joint and you got 500 people.
Yep.
What's like the next step in your career at this point with the campaign?
Yeah. So we win. And because I spent time in DC, I wanted to work in the administration. So you don't just like get called to work in the administration. You have to hustle a little bit. So that's when I moved back to DC and worked on the inaugural committee for free. And I did that. That's about a 2 to 3 month process. So
you working for them for free? How are you making money? How are you supporting yourself?
You aren't. You can file for unemployment if anybody needs to do this for the next administration, but I didn't. So those are the times where, like I said, my faith just held me down, and my friends did. Like I stayed on people's couches. I had people giving me like little spot grants so I could eat. I don't remember how I fed myself, but I did. And I ended up, my first job was at the Department of Commerce in the Public Affairs Office.
Wow. That's dope.
Yeah.
So, I've seen pictures where you're like directly interacting with the president, with the first lady, and not just on some photo op.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You interacting on some like, you know what I'm saying? Like side by side typing.
Yes.
Fist pumping.
Yes.
We did that, some black girl magic, black excellence type stuff, like in the White House, Oval Office, bowling. You doing all of that.
Yes.
Like
I did.
what I mean, what's up with that? Like, what was that like? You know what I'm saying? Was that different from working for LBJ, Larry Brown Jr.? Like, did Larry prepare you for the White House?
This was an incredible time to be alive, Josh. Like,
man,
we pulled up on purpose. There were like the most brilliant bosses I've ever worked for. They happen to be black. They happen to be people who are connected to a lot of people in the world, and they mean well by the world. So that was like, I woke up on purpose every day. We had young people from DC coming into the White House, like so excited to see the First Lady. I remember playing Double Dutch on the South Lawn one time because we were shooting a Nickelodeon commercial. Like, we were planting gardens and teaching people, I had fun stuff. I was on East Wing. So one time we had a Let's Move challenge and I helped make a recommendation with the team for the first lady to do the video with Beyonce, and then that went viral with the kids, right? So like that was incredible. So I was starting to like really bring my creative juices, and the fact that I am a
East Wing. What's the East Wing? What does that mean?
East Wing, West Wing of the White House. So the West Wing is where the president and Oval Office are, and the East Wing is where the first lady sits, and where her office is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So the first lady, does she know your name?
She probably knows my name. She was definitely my boss. So
wow. She's saying Charmion. You like, yes.
She was not
yes.
my girl.
So what do you call her? Do you call her boss? You call her first lady? Miss Obama? Okay.
Or the first lady, or like if I'm talking to somebody else, it's obviously the first lady, or if it's her, it's Mrs. Obama. Man. Or first lady Obama.
Dope. That's nuts. I mean, so do you interact with the family, with the kids at all? Like what's like the day in the life when you're working in the White House? What's that like? When you're pulling up?
Listen, you focus on your function. I happen to be a research associate when I was there. I was in charge of protecting our reputation. So anybody who got in pictures or different things, even when we had press come to the White House, I would be in charge of like the press pool and escorting them around the house. If you saw her on the cover of any magazines, I was usually behind the camera. Similar to PR, still PR, making sure that those shots were accurate. And so,
wow.
It's on your job.
These are shots that will be forever. These are shots that are going to be in history books that you was a part of. Mm-hmm. I mean, history books. Like, I mean, like, were you aware that you were a part of history at this time, or you just like, yo, I'm a professional, I'm gonna just, do the best I could do? Like, what was it like? It's
both. Like I said, leadership for America in the global community. Like, that's why they built us at Howard. So I very much knew I was part of history because that's why we're built. But you also are focused on what you have to do, and you don't get caught up in like the glitz and glamour because you don't want to mess up. Yeah. We had a funny joke. Everybody's last name was Obama. So like, whether you get caught in a car with somebody who has like, something going on, I guess weed was illegal at that time. Like I was OCD with all my friends because there was no way I was getting caught in the paper, making any kind of mistake. I got on everybody's nerves. But the point is, like, we represented the Obamas. And so when you do that, you focus, you get your job done, you do it with exceptionalism. And, we every day, we just want to make sure that we were doing our best on behalf of the people, the Americans, the United States. So you don't really have time to be starstruck about it. You finish what you got to do. And then after you're like, oh, that was awesome.
a lot of people say, man, first black president, we got these expectations like, man, this brother about to paint the White House black, like black people, like we really about to come up. But then you had this sentiment from a lot of folks, man. They like, man, he didn't do enough for black folks, or he didn't do anything for black folks. I mean, what do you say to that as somebody who was in that world?
Yeah.
Seeing him navigate, on almost a daily basis.
Yeah. So first of all, there were close to 400, if not more. Don't quote me, but there were a lot of us inside the administration. And when we brought our original selves every day to the EPA, HHS, Labor, Defense, the White House, the Trade Association, that's the first wave of black kids in all of these government agencies supporting all of these cabinet secretaries, writing their briefing papers, writing their talking points, informing policy. We were all over the place, bringing our unique perspective to all of those rooms. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing is, with the American Recovery Act, with a number of different, with Obamacare, which a lot of people who are entrepreneurs now are on, mm-hmm. With a number of different things that we didn't always have to be black because we represented the entire country. Everybody who lived in America, Republican or Democrat or independent, was our responsibility. Those taxpayer dollars were paying our salaries, and we took an oath of office to protect all of America. So it's not a black people job, it's an all of America job. But in that, you bring your unique perspective because you're in the room. And so whether you're talking about, asthma, and like housing projects, I used to work at HUD as well as assistant press secretary. Sean Donovan was the secretary. We passed LGBTQI or LGBTQ housing law at the time, which sort of banned people from discriminating against you to have housing subsidies if you happen to be in a same-sex marriage. These are types of things that end up impacting black people disproportionately, right? So just because the headline doesn't say this is the support of black people who are also impacted by this subsidy does not mean that we were not squarely focused on how to make the world more equitable, because we were. very, very much every
So
day.
so when you hear stuff like that, do you feel away or do you be like,
Yes.
yo, I get it?
Oh, 5 million. No, I know why, but I will always defend our time in the White House because I know what we were doing. I know how we were spending our time, and I know that it was with a filter that really meant it. We were there. Nobody was getting underpaid to waste time.
Mm-hmm.
We were there trying to make the country better, and that meant as well supporting Black people in the United States of America. And I'm not saying that on behalf of the president. I'm saying it on behalf of myself because that's what we were there to do. But, I just think it was an awesome time. And I think most people who are living in America now will agree that we did a pretty good job during our time.
Well, yeah, definitely with the economy, what's Osama bin Laden, killing that. I mean, because the economy was in a tank. So having
Yes.
to bail out those, and then I think we had a huge real estate
The housing crisis, which
housing
Kamala
crisis.
Harris, Dr. Howard University, she had a lot to do with. She worked with Sean Donovan on that, really calling banks to task for subprime loans and really sort of kicking people out of their homes because they couldn't afford it. And we did a lot of that. So, all good stuff. Did we do everything right? No. Did we have people's best interests at heart? Absolutely. And specifically the most vulnerable in the country. Not that always means Black people, because it doesn't. But certainly disproportionately impacts Black and brown people in areas where they haven't had an opportunity to be supported in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the side that wishes I could just say that one. I wish he would just had that one moment where we like, yo, if it wasn't for him, Black people wouldn't have had X,
Yeah.
and I know that when he got in office, it was really hard for him to even get stuff done. Everything was like getting shot down. So,
Well, yeah. And we'll take that as a lesson because we had 2 years before we had a Congress that was completely, against everything that we put up, right? And so can't just stop at president. You also need to vote for your Congress members and your senator and your local representatives, and your mayor. The governance system doesn't just fall on the president. And I think that people should always take that away and understand and remember that.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. So let's fast forward a little bit, because you with the Global Citizen. So what's your title with the Global Citizen?
Yeah, I'm head of public relations at Global Citizen. We just did a Together at Home series that focuses on COVID-19.
But it's like you're like head of public relations, but it's like global PR, right?
Correct. Yes, I always aim to reach a little higher.
I mean, that is a responsibility as big as the title is?
It is actually, and it's a little bit more because we're a pretty scrappy organization. We have about 130 people overall, and my communications team is very small. So it's myself and one other person, and then we work with the agency. So we have offices in Lagos, in Mexico.
Wow.
We work in Germany. We work, and I'm actually speaking with individuals in these countries, right? Trying to help pull initiatives off. We are just finished, as many people saw all over the news and on a broadcast, One World Together at Home, which was a Herculean effort. We raised $137 million that are going to go towards global and local COVID-19 efforts.
Wow.
And the goal was to sort of like John Legend participated, Alicia Keys, you saw Jennifer Hudson, a number of different people, Common, really all participated and lent their support, and a number of other artists to help make that happen. So I saw every piece of that come together.
So what's the mission of the Global Citizen?
Yeah, so it's really to eradicate extreme poverty by 2030 through the Sustainable Development Goals. Many of you all have heard of the United Nations and United Nations Foundation, but they really look at a macro level on like quality education and food and sanitation, health and water and sanitation and education. It's kind of like social impact in a box, basically.
Man.
So all the world's challenges like boil down to 17 goals. And then we try to activate a number of millennials and people who are digitally inclined to take action. So to call their governments out if they aren't, investing properly in girls' equality and education, or to really work with their governments to ensure that people are getting clean water where they need to internationally. So we really focus on those different actions that people can take. And then generally they get admission to a concert that we throw. Last year we did Mandela 100 in Lagos and in South Africa. And so it's really a model where if you are an activist and you take action on our website, you're able to sort of participate in events that we throw that pull global citizens together.
Damn. So just, you know, not too long ago, you in a 5-year rut, you know,
Yep.
you trying to figure it out, you know, you stand on couches and now, you know, your PR, you know, you're head of global public relations for the global citizen.
Yep.
Do you ever sit back and, you know, like, damn, like, does it, cause sometimes, you know, you at a point where you like in a rut and you like, man, if I just had this position, I would be so grateful. If I just had this. And I feel like with you, like, you just, like, once you got that opportunity, like once you got that one opportunity, whether it be at, you know, I don't know if it was with Edelman, that was like the first big one.
Mm-hmm.
Every next position, because you was at Discovery, I think we didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, I was.
You know, I mean, Edelman, the Ad Council, Discovery, Obama, with each position, you like killed it. And so one of the things that I find myself sometimes thinking is like, man, okay, this is what I always prayed about. But now that I finally got here, it's sometimes it's the pressure of maintaining it.
Yeah.
You know, how do you deal with those type of stressors? Just like the pressure of just being Charmion. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to be excellent all the time, but it's a lot of pressure that comes with that, and just trying to be balanced at the same time. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So there are a couple of things, and we don't have this. This is part 2 or later, but like some of these moves were also to catch my salary up, right? So you heard me talk about 5 years not really on, and then taking multiple pay cuts, and then kind of working for peanuts. Like I had to, once I actually became an adult, like once I hit that 30 mark, I had to come up with a financial structure and plan for my life too. So some of these promotions have really been focused on making sure that I can create a sustainable lifestyle for myself while doing what I love. And then also making sure I have the proper health insurance, making sure I have a job that's like sustainable, I can do the work and not kill myself at the same time. So it's all in like ebbs and flows, right? It's just like looking at the full picture. I moved from LA back here to the East Coast. My parents are getting older. They're 70. They just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. They're 75.
Wow, that's great.
You know, so I wanted to be closer to home. So anyway, I started like, after the White House, I took a step back and I evaluated kind of like the personal side of my life and kind of what I want that to encompass, like kind of what kind of salary I want to command, and, you know, what do I want to be doing with my life every day. And I identify social impact as that pathway. So I actually have a small consultancy as well as being head of PR for Global Citizen, where I look at different programs that are going to impact our community specifically. So what do I do with all these world leaders I'm starting to, you know, have connections with, or different things, and how do we bring those resources back to, you know, impact young people? And one of my life missions is to brainwash kids towards excellence.
And that's CN Kinder Incorporated.
That's right.
Founder and Chief Impact Officer.
That's right. So you know, it's kind of like Alphabet of Google. You might not ever see that brand on anything, but you might see a lot of really dope projects come out of my company. And the goal is to always make sure that I'm able to pivot. For example, we're dealing with the COVID-19 issue. It's going to have ramifications on our kids and our communities for a very long time, from an economic and educational perspective, and from even a college. You know, all these things are going to be impacted by COVID. So really looking at the landscape and identifying like where are the key opportunities to make sure that some of these resources from the philanthropic community are getting back to underserved communities, or communities of promise, as I like to call them.
Wow. Okay. That's dope, man. So, I mean, now that you got this role, I mean, what, you know, I know you're not going to stop there. You know, you're with an amazing organization, amazing cause. And what's dope about it is that it's a global organization. So your reach is crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are some of the things that you're trying to achieve, like going forward, you know, maybe 10 years from now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm starting to look at legacy building. And so I want to make sure that, like, you know, when we have $1 million, we need to build a school, or we need to make sure we're getting the graduation levels up, or different things that, like, we know foundations that support communities of color. That we actually know the people in those foundations, that we are mapping some of the work, like that David Canada or Steve Perry or Dr. Perry or different people, like mapping Success Academy in Chicago. What are these models that are effective? How can we duplicate them? What kind of leaders can we trust to go to help say, well, I tried that during my administration. How about you talk to these 10 people, put them on your board, and let's do it again? right? So really taking a look at the larger field, understanding what's going to work, and then starting to put the pieces together so that we start to have success. We already have success, so I'll restate. We start to duplicate more successes in our communities with regard to the pathway that our young people are taking. They are brilliant. We know that. The question is now more conversations around what is possible for them instead of what is not. I don't really believe that narrative, which is why I'm in comms. It's like, oh, well, Black and brown young people are less likely to go to college, have a bank account, have a house, get married, like this deficit narrative. Shout to Dr. Tolson, who has a book about this, and a number of other people who do this work. But I'm hugely into changing that narrative. The narrative needs to change, and the perception that young people about what they can achieve needs to change. So all of this work that I've done will directly be contributed to initiatives that focus on that. They can do so much more than people say they can, and I'm looking forward to making sure that we make that happen while I'm alive.
Damn, that's dope, Sean. So you got your work cut out for you. So I mean, is Charmion 10 years from now? Are you still working in the United States? Like, are you working on? Where are you at in 10 years? Are you still in this role with the Global Citizen? Do you want to go back into politics? Do you want to go maybe to the corporate route? Are you more focused on your personal brand?
Josh, I don't know that yet. I haven't gotten married yet either, which I intend to. So my husband, whoever he is, will have to decide some of that stuff. But
any prospects? Any prospects? Can we shout somebody out?
Not as of yet. We've tried. I keep people's business out the street, but we'll keep going until we're successful.
Okay.
And I look forward to, first of all, being healthy and well and whole, and like not necessarily impacted directly by COVID. Hopefully. Shouts to everyone who has lost someone in the pandemic. But I do want to build out my family structure more, build out my financial structure more, continue to do work that I love, continue to build legacy, continue to contribute to Howard University even more and more and more. And I don't know what the future brings, but God will help order my steps, and we will see.
Wow. Order my steps. Man, damn, Sean. That's dope, man. That's dope. So, I mean, as you reflect on things, and what's cool about you, man, you're still active in your sorority. So I'm still sure you got strong ties back to Howard. Mm-hmm. Obviously, me and you, we both campus pals. So there's a strong connection there. When you look back at everything that you had to go through to get to where you are now, what does Charmion now say to the Charmion that's coming into Howard? What advice do you have for that young lady?
Just focus on your goals, keep your head up, and all things will be well. Like, just don't ever doubt that all things will be well.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it looks like it's not going to be well, you remind yourself that it will be well. Like, that's what I would say, and just worry so much, because you do have to work hard and things do have to come together. You do need money. You do need a great job. You do need all these things. But ultimately, if you have your head on accurately, and you have your spirit positioned correctly, and you treat people well, and you have a drive about you, things will work out. And so you can't always, you can have a 5-year plan, put it in place, get ready for it to blow up, and continue on with your mission and keep your light up. And that's what I would say. Just don't ever give up on yourself, ever.
Dope. That's great advice. So, Sean, I mean, you're a person that's been very vocal. You're very vocal on social media.
Yes.
Very, very comfortable with sharing your thoughts and not only sharing your thoughts, but I think a lot of times you share your thoughts to kind of hear what other people, how they gonna respond. Yeah. Where does that come from?
I think it comes from being in PR. It comes from picking what kind of PR I want to do, because you can't do that with all jobs. Mm-hmm. I've chosen jobs that align again with who I really am. So it's not always been like that, but I've gotten to a place that if I work for you, it's because I actually believe in what you do, and it directly aligns with what I like to do. So that's why I have the liberty, I think, to be so vocal on social, because I typically have jobs that align with what I think. Mm-hmm. And then as well, I think it's just important to maintain community, even though we have social media. Before, we were, like I said, hate to say it, I'm a little old school. Like, we didn't have Facebook when I was in college. So we actually talked to each other, your thoughts.
Black Planet, though. We had Black Planet.
We had Black Planet. I wasn't on it. and don't date me though, because I still look good. But anyway, I think that like I'm vocal because I'm a huge community person. Like I've said it throughout this entire talk. Like my church, you know, my school, my sorority, the Obama administration, that's shouts to my 44 family. Like all of that stuff was intentional, it was on purpose. It built who I am. It's part of my character. And we cannot lose that. You know, we cannot lose that just because we don't always see each other. We have to be able to exchange ideas, to pull each other up, to celebrate each other, to, you know, really elevate our thinking. And I usually share my thoughts just to see what other people think, because I'm not always right.
We're going to transition into a little rapid fire round.
Yes.
In which, you know, now in the rapid fire, what you have to do, I'm going to just say a word, or I might say two things, and you have to just say the first thing that comes to mind. Okay?
Okay. Yes.
Well, you a cheerleader at Howard?
For a year.
For 1 year, okay.
They was having to sell towels. I was like, yeah, nah, I'm all right. I'm good.
Oh man. Okay. All right. So let's get it kicked off right now. First one, is it who you know or what you know?
Who you know?
Ho Chi or China Wonder?
China Wonder.
U Street or Adams Morgan?
U Street, 5,000,000%. Unless you're on a date, then you go to Adams Morgan.
Marketing or public relations?
Marketing, probably more money.
Delta, Sigma, Theta. What comes to mind?
Changing the world.
Changing the world.
To change to some degree.
Is homecoming better as an alum or as a student?
Definitely as an alumni. You'll be needing to see everybody. I cannot wait to see all these black people. I just need to be there. Yes.
Right. Let's see. One of them you got to start. One of them is on the bench, and one of them you got to cut. Homecoming, orientation, graduation.
Start with orientation. Put homecoming on the bench. Graduation that was confusing.
Well, bench mean they on the bench. That's like number 2, but one of them got to go. So you saying graduation got to go?
Oh no, that's not what I meant to say. I would say orientation could go.
Okay.
Homecoming is like you have to have that. It's required.
Drew Hall or Carver?
Drew Hall. Shouts to Drew.
Quad or the Annex?
Annex.
Oh man, using the Annex. Okay.
Okay.
Your parents have money then, using the Annex.
Well, I don't know about all that. Shouts to the Annex. That's all I got to say.
You had the plug. You knew somebody. All right. So let's go to trivia real quick.
Yes.
We only got like 2 minutes. All right. So Howard trivia. When was Howard founded?
1867.
Finish this sentence. Reared against the eastern sky.
Proudly there on Hilltop High.
What neighborhood is Howard located in?
Shaw Howard neighborhood.
What is the zip code of Howard University?
Ooh, I don't remember. Is it 20009?
No, 20059.
Okay.
What's the address of the Annex?
I don't remember that.
How many schools and colleges in Howard?
There were 12 schools and colleges in Howard, I thought.
It's 13 now.
13, okay.
What's the Howard motto?
It used to be Leadership for America and the Global Community. Veritas et Utilitas, which is truth and service.
Right. You know, Swagger used to drill that in our heads.
Yes, it did, and it worked.
Finish this sentence. I'm so glad
I went to Howard U and nada.
Okay, good. All right, I gotta cut it short, Sean. But yo, if somebody wanna hit you up, pick your brain, follow you.
Yes.
How do they do that?
Yeah, go to @Charmion on all social, or Charmion at charmionkinder.com, or visit my website, charmionkinder.com.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I want to thank you again for coming on. You know, we've known each other for a long time. We've been in the struggle together.
Yes, we have.
Sharing stories and hopelessness and desperation. But, you know, we made a way for ourselves. And I like to think that, we are accomplished individuals. But
I would agree.
Thank you again for coming on. Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.